Hello everyone, Ben here, and today I wanted to reflect a bit on iRacing. Now, I've been competing on iRacing for a few months now, long enough to start making a bit of an informed judgment about the good, and especially today, the bad. But before we get into that, if at any point you find yourself enjoying the video, remember to hit the like button and get subscribed. We've got loads of brilliant iRacing content already on the channel, including broadcast quality weekly USF 2000 races and lots more coming up that you won't want to miss. I know what you're thinking, it's the cost, right? The hundreds of pounds you likely have to spend in your first year on the platform to even enjoy 10% of the content on offer. Or maybe it's the fact that you don't actually own any of the content that you buy, given you can't access any of it if you stop subscribing to the service, even to play offline. Well, as bad as those things are, I actually think something else is arguably even worse. And it's this. And this. And at its worst, I think it may also be at least partly responsible for this. Now that clip is from a recent race of Chris Rogers, who if you don't subscribe to on YouTube, you really should, and you can find a link in the description to his channel. But all of this, folks, is very bad. If in a sim racing title you can't reliably race close to other cars, then it doesn't really matter what pricing structure you have. You've got big problems. The issue here, it seems, is netcode. Now, without getting too technical, mainly because it's way above my head, as I understand it, netcode is a catch-all term essentially describing how a racing sim predicts where the cars are at any given time within the race that you're currently in. We are of course all racing online from our own office chairs and rigs, and so data is being communicated between each individual racing, the server hosting the race, and back again to allow each of us to drive in a shared space where our actions can impact other drivers in real time. But the reality is this isn't all happening in real time. Even if the delays are small, there is a degree of prediction required as to where each car is on track as we're racing. And as with any prediction, it isn't always perfect. Now that's true of any sim, but honestly I've never experienced anything like the problems with netcode in any of the other sims I've played online, and certainly not as consistently. Clearly in these examples the game is predicting cars have come into contact with one another when they haven't, and in the extreme example of the car being shot into space, that somehow they've in fact merged into each other, causing the physics engine to go crazy and cars to get catapulted into the sky. But it doesn't have to be this way. Let's take a little look at a couple of clips from recent races in Race Room with real side-by-side battling and small bits of car-to-car contact producing absolutely brilliant racing. Competitive but fair, and nobody being punted into oblivion. Even if you could look at this footage and actually think, would both cars really survive that contact without at the least more significant damage? Now I don't have insider knowledge of how either iRacing or Race Room are coded, but my guess is the guys at Race Room have taken a bunch of decisions to prioritise the drivers being able to race each other over and above achieving the most sensitive and responsive car-to-car physics. In other words, I don't think it's an accident, but rather a design decision to err on the side of drivers being able to race in close proximity. Let's be clear, netcode is present in Race Room as well as every other sim racing title, and you will get instances where there is a bit of a disconnect between what you see on screen and what the game registers as contact between cars. But in my experience, those moments are less common and 90% of the time carry far fewer consequences than they seem to in iRacing. It remains a bit of a mystery to me why exactly this happens in iRacing. As with all online games, a lot depends on the individual's connection quality and ping to the server. I suppose it's possible that in bringing players together from all corners of the globe in massive grids, the reality is that some irregularities in the netcode are inevitable. It could be that iRacing's processes and infrastructure for receiving and sending data during races need upgrading. Or it could be the culmination of a bunch of designed choices about how sensitive the cars are to contact and how the different physics systems in the game interact that lead to such dire consequences from instances of non-contact between cars. At this stage, I go into many races in iRacing not really wanting to get too close to other cars, for fear the game would think big contact is being made. And that's such a big shame, as in my view iRacing does a lot right. I actually enjoy the feel of the cars I've driven in the sim. The circuits are brilliantly scanned and the competition system is excellent. And don't get me wrong, as the clips in the background of this video clearly show, you can achieve some degree of close racing on the sim. But iRacing is eye-wateringly expensive, and despite the recent addition of AI racing, its primary focus is overwhelmingly online racing. It's a premium, some might even say elite, sim racing product. And yet something as basic as having two formula cars run close to each other, something you'll see every other week in F1 or on IndyCar, is seemingly impossible to do reliably, as an invisible force field is likely to bounce at least one car off into the gravel. And that, for me, is the worst thing about iRacing. And really, over and above adding new content to the game, it should be a big focus for the developers to get on top of, because ultimately, we all came to the platform to race. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and if you've got any extra info or if you think I've gotten anything wrong in my understanding of netcode, let me know too. And if you've enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the racing we've got coming up. I'm going to be continuing in my iRacing career regardless of netcode issues, and you won't want to miss any of it. I'll see you next time.